Oh gosh, I'm clicking all the wrong buttons. On a good note, the hand is healing. I just can't push it. I actually had this brace off for quite a while today and it started getting achy, so I had to throw it back on. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So let's kick this off on Instagram. Tyrannical Instagram. All right. That's enough of this rock. Welcome to UNMUZZLED Chat. I love y'all. Hope you're having a terrific day. Oh, spoiler alert. I'm jumping ahead of myself in my notes for today's show, but we are in such desperate need for a great humbling. Why is it that we are resorting to everything that has been spoon-fed to us our whole lives? All right, let's get back on show notes a bit. I want to address the humbling I've experienced. And I sure hope that I am not coming across as though I know it all, because I do not. In fact, I don't know much, let's say, much of anything on the vastness of topics in this life. And that's why I believe biblically he's led us to seek that meekness as a child. When we take the stance of the know-it-all syndrome, I view one of the greatest character defects we could have in this life. We are setting ourselves up for turmoil in our personal lives, in our family lives, in our work environments, everyone we encounter in this life. It's feeding this pedestaling and pride and ego, all the things evil, golly, has been too effective in doing in our time. What happened to agree to disagree with love in our hearts for the other individuals? Through example, through walking through light, which I've fallen out of a lot on this whole adventure, let's be real, is clearly the best example, the best ways we're going to be more effective in planting seeds and drawing people is to being curious. What is it they got that I don't? It has been very humbling for me. And I believe if we actually fight back on our programming and a know-it-all attitude would in fact help us personally. Even help us fix bigger issues. We are faced in this spiritual war. We're engaged in this mortal existence that somehow is wrapping us up as though we're going to live here forever. We are taking things way too serious in one hand and not serious enough to the profound truths, humbling truths, as to we're visiting. That can kind of gear us up and set us on a more clear path that could lead us to just great breakthrough with ourselves and rub off on our whole environments. So I want us to ask ourselves, like, what is it that could be holding us back from real understanding? Where did our beliefs even come from? Where did it come from? We're just blindly going to entrust in our education systems, blindly entrust in mega built out organized religions in this life. Oh, I got to pull up this quote that I just recently heard. And this is just kind of nilly-willy, spur of the moment, but that's what we do. Where'd I put it? The best lies come wrapped in truth. Could we unpack that? Could we see it for what it actually is? The devil's here to deceive, destroy, and it's far too effective in doing that. I could see even in agreement. I mean, I've partaken in it, I've been a part of it, and I've seen it happen before my eyes. Where even individuals fighting for like the same, they even believe in like the same thing, yet they we almost just buck heads fighting the same battle. Like, what is that about? This is a good question. Have we, or do we ever, in fact, challenge these beliefs we have? Challenge them. I think that would be very healthy for us to do. Kind of like the whole, threw it in, what was it, the title or the description? But we have been spoon-fed too much. Why wouldn't we challenge that? It just becomes the narrative because it's just what we're taught. It's what our families, and we keep passing down, I believe, this very toxic belief system that we're not healthily challenging. And it's been so emotionally polarized and ramped up into our identities that we can't, if anyone wants to speak against these narratives, or even, hey, look, come from a place, I don't know where I've landed, but this research on this particular topic has me feeling a certain way when I've actually done my own due diligence, more so than just absorbing the spoon-fedness. Let's make up our own words. Like, that gets shut down. Why is that? What is that? Is it pride? Is it ego? Is it fear? Is it laziness that's keeping us from potentially humoring even that conversation or consideration for something that could lead to great breakthrough? Or, I mean, with all the propaganda even regarding this whole pandemic, like, it could lead to saving our mortal existence or leading us on a path that we're more resilient and just given more so the ability to land and fulfill God's will for us here. It's crazy. So why is it? Why not? Why not challenge these beliefs? Why not? Could it possibly be the evil that has been around since Adam and Eve? Let's wrap our minds around this. The evil that's been around since Adam and Eve has built out propaganda outlets such as our education systems, infiltrated it, and much, much more. Possibly in major religions today, to deceive us, indoctrinate, or even program us to our own detriment. Think about it. Evil has been here this whole time, from the beginning until our Savior actually comes again, right? So really, in that sense, like, who are we in this bleep in time as adults to act as though, to react as though we freaking know it all? To challenge people just trying to have open discussions and bring other ideas in. We are at each other's throats. What is that? I believe it's more than defective core beliefs in all the indoctrination. I do believe that evil has also weaponized so many things, such as our food, water, air. It blew my mind walking out today and seeing the sky painted. I challenge more men to stop projecting as though they love their families unconditionally when in fact they're showing up with conditions. Nope, I'm not going to look into it because Google tells me it's water vapors and ice crystallization. God help us. We need you more than ever. Humble us all. It may take more challenge for more to actually come to these realizations. Unfortunately, it's sad because we want to alleviate and minimize the suffering, the death, all these issues we're faced with today. But at the end of the day, it's in God's hands. I do feel more men need to stand up and question their love, whether it's unconditional or there's conditions. Because why? Oh, watch Frankenstein's. I mean, we can go over so many different topics, but just to keep it on the chemtrail, due to not a natural cloud in the sky today, and it was painted with chemtrails and dissipating chemtrails. Yes, that's what they are. 100% indisputable. If you haven't done your research, like, that is just another spoon-fedness. Why are you holding yourself back from understanding something that we could put a stop to immediately with enough of us engaged in that, and more so fulfill the unconditional love we project so often? And it's not about being right. I don't freaking care. Zero accolades. Are you kidding me? I embrace those that didn't understand it and are willing to, and then it's just like, welcome, brother. I'm so excited. And it doesn't matter who got there first. Are you freaking kidding me? That doesn't matter. What matters is the outcome, that this type of poison doesn't continue, because I believe it's this very poisoning that is putting us more so in a fight or flight position with our immune systems on a cellular basis. Evil's been that effective, I believe, with its biological warfare and all these war tactics, that is what's leading a lot of us more so to be triggered in these very conversations, keeping the perpetuated circus continually happening, and us believing the spoon-fedness. Come on now. Are we onto something? I sure hope so. Bigger than chemtrails. We'll rip the lid off of it with, let's go ahead and pull up the screen, with these documentaries, folks. We've plugged it for multiple episodes now regarding Vaxxed 1, Vaxxed 2, and here we are with Vaxxed 3. So I am elated to walk through, they call them films, documentaries, because use whatever you feel labeling is going to have the better effect. To me, it's a documentary. I mean, it's actual real life stories. What better proof do we need to actually expose? I'm putting words together, even my fake words of the spoon-fedness. How is it we can continually blind ourselves to all these stories? So I cannot wait to dive into this documentary. Once again, just thinking about our very short lives, our very limited time here, when evil has been here the whole freaking time. Think about it. It's actually laughable, isn't it? It's laughable. Who are we to think? We understand the deceiver in his entirety in this short bleep of time. We're going to forever in this mortal state be duped. That's why we need to become so reliant, gain the distinctions between these gods, the creator and the deceiver. And it's an exciting thing to be humbled. Our programming has wired us in such a way that we're not even willing to face, I got things wrong. I get things wrong all the time. I might, in a way, I imagine even in presenting what I'm experiencing today, in ways I'm getting this very combination of words wrong. There's probably a more enlightened state and way to go about it. Let's be real. So I truly feel one of the biggest blessings we could have in this moment that would lead us to health breakthroughs, political breakthroughs, all these other things, is it's initially for a lot of us just a great humbling to acknowledge the defective wiring and that evil has been here a long time. And it's real. The ones that have seemingly made their way to the top in this mortal existence, it is clear they're devil worshippers. So he's gave them much in this life, and they've passed it down generational. Look at the division and wealth at this point. The gap is astronomical. It's more than we can even, I believe, mortally fathom. And all that money, energy, power, control, tyranny, commie, freaking insanity is what is oppressing us today. And we have been under the illusion of being free for far too long. If we're genuinely being honest with ourselves, I myself have fallen prey to it 100%. So can we help instigate and kick off this movement for a great humbling? Can we gain the thirst to seek the truth for ourselves and slap those dang spoons out of our mouth? It's like, let's be real. Some people swallowed that spoon and there's just no way getting it out. And not in this life. Good luck. I don't know. So there's a lot of things that I'd love to dive into regarding what's happening in this world. I mean, Donald Trump right here talking about, wow, it's clear this administration is trying to evoke martial law and not give the presidency over to this new administration. Just evoking World War III, folks. We're on the precipice of so much right now. But how do we address all this if the chemtrails are continuing, the vaccine shedding still continuing, the poisonous food and water is still continuing? We're going to be in a diminished state. It's going to be really hard to address these things. That's why I feel, personally, it is more if you have the bandwidth to engage in this arena, fan-freaking-tastic. We must do that. But there's too slow of awakening. In fact, since the election, a lot of even patriots in the know are more so kicking up their feet. And that's when I was greatly concerned about. I'm like, it is up to we the people. Our duty as men, especially to our families, our children, our country, and our God, is not showing up every 2 or 4 years and putting dang check marks on a piece of paper. Are we insane? It is much more in depth. We got to get engaged in all these things. But I do feel what's keeping us from really engaging there is health issues. We're seeing it ramped up within our children, all our loved ones. Come on. Why is the music? I can't shut off the music. Are we good? Are we still live? Let me just verify something. That's never happened before. It's as though my streaming service was frozen. All right. I just checked. It looks as though we're good. So I want to plug. I actually personally had a chat with the owner, Mason, today, and golly, he's doing a great and many things regarding our health, cutting edge diagnosis, the AO scan. I mean, we covered that in some episodes back. If you want to scroll through, amazing. I couldn't believe for $499, it gave me a breakdown that everything I needed to know personally through years past, thousands and thousands of dollars of blood work. It compacted all down and even more in depth. And when we have proper diagnoses, then we have a clearer path as to identifying the roots of the issues, which also his protocols is providing so much of that. So he's got great holiday specials coming up. I'd recommend, he even mentioned he can assist to an extent people out of state. So it's, if it's one of them things like, hey, I'm going to give them a call and see what solutions he may have, maybe even recommendations or things along those lines. Great. But especially for those in Arizona, you got to check out Unchained Wellness Clinic. This is a very, I believe, spiritually guided man with, let's say, the morals and values and beliefs kind of more so aligned with the founding of our country. And that is a way, instead of going to Western medicine, all these indoctrinated individuals that are, some of them are slowly waking up and more so practicing medicine and getting to the roots of issues. But this man is there. He's there. He's already on the cutting edge. You got to check out Unchained Wellness Clinic. But let's go ahead and play this quick commercial. It's pretty cool.
It's time to tackle your mental health.
There he is.
We're excited to have our Black Friday special. This special is designed for a 1-week, 3-day mental makeover package, and it's going to help you with neuroplasticity, breaking free from depression, anxiety, and making yourself feel amazing and happy. Treat yourself or your loved one to a 3-day wellness package. Click the link in our bio to get early access to our Black Friday deals.
Fantastic. It's time to tackle. Thanks, Mason. I mean, it just puts an emphasis. I'm just trying to help provide actual, tangible solutions for us all. It's not about these affiliations. I know if you mention UNMUZZLED, by the way, he will take care of you, but you don't have to. Just what we're seeking here is the best version of you. That's what we want. We want to hone in on what, in fact, is going to be the most effective way. If I knew someone, let's say, more on point to kind of clearing that path, that's who we'd be talking about. But I know Mason is on that right path. So it's time we support patriots like that and individuals that are not scared to actually look into the roots of the issue and not just be totally about the corrupt layers of what your insurance is going to cover, oh my gosh, the incentivizations with Big Pharma. There's no magical pill, folks. Sorry. And I don't believe there will be. Not from Big Pharma. Nope. It would not be in their interest. It would negatively impact their bottom line to create a pill that saved us all. It's not going to happen. So with that being said, boom, here's products that they do produce, that they do label as safe and effective, that they are indoctrinating us with from birth and for generations now. And I'm so grateful that the veil is being lifted. Whatever analogy, whatever. But this is a spiritual battle. So in a sense, the veil is being lifted for us to actually see what, at the end of the day, is going to be most beneficial to ourselves, to our loved ones, and especially, most importantly, our children. I hope you enjoy this. Let's go 1.25.
In California, the worst measles outbreak in 15 years is spreading.
The virus is roaring back into the headlines tonight. An outbreak somehow traced to
someone who had probably caught measles abroad visited Disneyland and may have sneezed.
Measles on the march in America.
This outbreak is showing no signs of letting up. There are already more cases this year than there were.
The number tripled to 644 measles cases reported in 27 states.
By the way, this will expose so much of the spoon-fedness, the corrupt, whatever you want to call it, the programming, the defective wiring, the institutions, the synagogue of Satan. Evil has actually, in fact, stood up and put the label, like wrapped in some type of truth, or somehow or another gained some type of trust. Pretty bow, but at the core of it, it is rotten, it is deceitful, it is harmful, it is destructive, and it's no good. So let's challenge ourselves, get as many people on this live as possible, and send this episode far and wide. And if it's not just this episode, please, in the description below, we have all 3 links, Vaxxed 1, 2, 3. Send them far and wide. We could help a lot of people gain their resilience back, and we need that.
And I mean, is this all basically because of the anti-vaccination movement, because parents aren't vaccinating their kids?
Yeah, I think so.
A bill that would ban exemptions from childhood vaccines is advancing through the California legislature.
We are authoring legislation that will abolish the personal belief exemption.
I think you're starting to see why it is that mandates are so important.
There has been some inaccurate information circulating about vaccines, mostly stemming from a British study linking vaccines to autism.
We still continue to hear that vaccine caused autism, even though that's been debunked.
No, it hasn't.
Thoroughly debunked.
No, it hasn't.
We've heard vaccination causes autism in 1 out of 100.
These freaking liars.
Fuck that. total bullshit. It doesn't.
The bill requiring children to be vaccinated has passed with bipartisan support. Every child must meet immunization standards before joining public schools, private schools, and daycares.
I would strongly encourage everybody, look at the science, look at the facts.
Do you see the spoon in his hand? He's just spoon feeding us BS. All these individuals. Could it be they sold their soul? Could it be that Big Pharma is putting big money in their bank accounts for this? Oh, yeah. In fact, it has. And it's been verified. Okay? 100%. Every single one of these institutions, individuals, the data's out there. The information's out. And just stay tuned. They're going to go through a lot of it.
Facts, CDC, the Center for Disease Control, can give you good information. Get your children vaccinated.
Just wait. Oh, man, this is so good.
I've waited a long time to tell my story, and I want to tell it truthfully. I was involved in deceiving millions of taxpayers regarding the potential negative side effects of vaccines. We lied about the scientific findings. The CDC can no longer be trusted to do vaccine safety work. Can't be trusted to be transparent.
Ooh.
The CDC can't be trusted to police itself.
They weren't during the pandemic, folks.
Just a few thoughts. William W. Thompson, Senior Scientist, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
I just love you all. I don't want you to be a victim of this evil war tactic or your children. That's the intent. I just want to see health.
Hello. I was sitting at my desk where I teach at Simpson University. My phone rings, and it's Dr. William Thompson.
Brian, you and I don't know each other very well. I don't know how this is all going to play out. You have a son with autism, and I have great shame now when I meet families with kids with autism, because I have been part of the problem.
My son, Stephen, was born in February of 1998.
Steve, what does the cow say?
Tweet, tweet.
Doggy.
Yeah. 2 weeks after his 15-month vaccine, then he lost all language. He lost all eye contact. You'd pick him up and he would just hang limp. This is a time where CDC was just starting to do these studies on vaccines and autism. As a scientist, I have over 60 technical and scientific publications in major international scientific journals. And I was contacting the CDC and was deeply critical of their studies. And so the CDC decided that the scientist who was going to interface with me at that time was Dr. William Thompson. Because I was on his back, because he didn't like what I was saying about the statistics, I received a letter from a CDC attorney in 2004 saying that I was no longer permitted to contact the CDC. Fast forwarding to 2014, Thompson said to me, Brian, if you listen to me and if you do what I tell you to do, I can guarantee you will be able to access a treasure trove of data, and I would like to guide you through these steps.
So I want to be a resource. I want to be valuable to you. I want you to have someone in the system.
For years, I had been trying to crack this edifice of the CDC and just getting little glimpses of what was not right.
The CDC has put the research 10 years behind. Because the CDC has not been transparent, we've missed 10 years of research because the CDC is so paralyzed right now by anything related to autism.
I am a licensed clinical psychologist and a board-certified behavior analyst. In 1978, I want to say the prevalence of autism was about 1 in 15,000 children. It was a very rare disorder. I was working at a clinic at UCLA, which was pretty much the only known center for treating children with autism, and we had maybe 6 to 10 children who we were working with. Somewhere around the early 90s, shortly after I opened CARD, the growth of autism has been so high and so rapid that I've never felt like I could ever catch up anymore. From an official diagnostic perspective, the way that we define autism, we were looking at deficits in 2 areas. The first is social communication and social interaction. And in that area, we require 3 specific symptoms.
Okay, we got a breaking alert. Breaking alert. Let me pull it up on the screen. This is insanity. I started doing advertisement right here on Fakebook. Another tyrannical, manipulative. It's controlled by evil. 100%. This platform is controlled by the synagogue of Satan, and for whatever reason, it's too inconvenient to just move it all over and get my family all over to a free speech platform that already exists, whether it's True Social, Rumble, X, Liberated to an extent, Telegram, Clout. I mean, there's so many out there. Why are we choosing slavery versus freedom? This is what is perpetuating the spoon-fedness and people actually waking up to the very threats. All I did was post this very episode stating something along the lines of, do you value truth? Or something along, it just very basic title, and boom, removed. Can't promote this content on this tyrannical platform. Nope. Come on, folks. That's what we're up against. We're on an uphill battle. This is why so many, think about it, that has been the huge problem we're faced with, is because this has become the consensus. This is what everyone's regurgitating. When we shift that paradigm to people actually speaking out, like, for example, the Amish community isn't dealing with autism at all. It's not dealing with any of these chronic illnesses and issues we're dealing with outside of that community. Well, what's the difference? They aren't vaccinating their children. Full stop. Come on. As they ramp up, they just added 20 more to the childhood vaccine schedule, 3 of which has the mRNA toxic, poisonous, evil. I mean, gosh, it's got 666 Luciferian race in the patents, folks. They're literally evil's trying to disrupt our connection to God. There's very comforting scripture in this book that states God will not allow evil in this life to get between his love for all of us. Luckily, I've been able to tap into that, and it's been the greatest blessing of my life. And it's over any religion. It's a personal pursuit, because there's a lot of indoctrination happening in those mega religions as well. 100%. You could see it because a lot of those individuals, when you talk on certain things, for freak's sakes, there were mega religions that influenced hundreds of thousands of Americans and people across the globe to getting this shot because their religious leaders got it. And you can't even confront that. So yes, evil has infiltrated those gatherings. Doesn't mean they're all bad per se. There's great connection that could happen through, pursuing even those organized religions, but more importantly, it's relationship with God over any religion. 100%. That's what's true. People are seeking the true church in this life. No. It's got mankind involved. Oh, okay. Well, there's going to be defects. So realistically, the purest truth you'll land on regarding God is seeking relationship personally with him. And that's our loving creator God, not the other one. Gain the proper distinctions. I'm so grateful for this whole, my eyes have been opened. The veil in a huge way has been lifted for me. And that's why I am so on fire to continue this pursuit. Yes, even at great stressors to this existence. My freedom is on the line with legislation being passed in this very country to an extent that is minimizing our speech. We're unmuzzled. We're not going to walk in fear. If it leads to imprisonment, if it leads to more financial or this or that, so be it. Ready to die on that cross, so to speak, if that's what it comes to. Like, what is this? That's what matters. That is what matters in this life. Jesus showed us that. And I don't mean to be too distracted and too long-winded, so let's continue with this, but just had to give you that breaking news regarding Facebook. That should infuriate us or fire us up to a degree to get more people on this. Share free speech platforms such as Rumble in the podcast apps, places we're able. There's other hits. Samsung dropped off. Google bought YouTube. So now they're running through YouTube, the censorship regime, which Google used to be one of the larger podcast app audio players that we're gaining the most viewership. Now we can't run through YouTube because it will 100% not just be flagged, it will lead to complete. So we're not even bothering messing with that. We're just going to continue to speak on the ones we can speak on. So we need more organic growth, which is, I don't want to put burdens on your shoulders. It just should ignite excitement to do our part. And that's more so fulfilling the duty and responsibilities we have to our loved ones, our countries, and to God. Let's do what we can, folks. I love you. Thank you for doing what you can and hearing what I mean, it's been a slow, painful road to even get to where I am now. But I appreciate all your support and getting it yourself. I mean, it's a tough life, man. But there's such great light and enjoyment to be had when we embrace the reality of things, because then we just get drawn more so to truth and we break the chains.
Symptoms to be present. Symptoms such as no social emotional reciprocity, no non-verbal communication, that means eye contact, for instance, or no development of relationships. The second required area of deficit is the presence of stereotypic, repetitive, restricted behaviors. And these are things like hand flapping, body rocking, insistence on routines being the same. One of the new additions is the presence of a sensory dysregulation. If a child has an inability to sense things correctly, not necessarily hearing things the way we do, that could be classified as a symptom of autism. So if you have 5 symptoms, 2 in the area of repetitive behaviors and 3 in the area of social communication deficit, then you will get a classification of what's called autism spectrum disorder, ASD.
We begin, though, as always, keeping them honest. Breaking news tonight. Just hours ago, the British medical journal BMJ did something extremely rare for a scientific journal. It accused a researcher, Andrew Wakefield, of outright fraud.
I got a call on the 19th of May 1995 from a mother telling me the story of her child, his regression into autism following a vaccine. And I said, how can I help you? I know nothing about autism. You've come through to the wrong number. And she said, no, doctor, my child has terrible gastrointestinal issues and no one will take them seriously. I was an academic gastroenterologist doing research with a particular interest in Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, inflammatory bowel disease. I knew nothing whatsoever about autism. When I was at medical school, it was so rare, we weren't taught about it. We heard a succession of stories which were very, very similar. Medicine is about pattern recognition, and there was a clear pattern emerging. So we decided, a group of us, including the world's leading pediatric gastroenterologists at the time, led by Professor John Walker-Smith, decided that these children merited thorough investigation.
Well, Dr. Wakefield has been shown used absolutely fraudulent data, created a fake paper. The journal allowed it to run. All the other studies were done, showed no connection whatsoever.
This just says wonders coming from the man who on his TED Talk talked about, hey, if we do a good job through health services and vaccinations, we could lower the world population by 10 or 15%. That's quote what came out of that man's mouth. Doesn't it say wonders now how he gets the pedestaling to combat any individuals going against these narratives? There's too many of us have been murdered, imprisoned, and lives completely destroyed due to honing in and trying to lift that veil to others' benefits. I mean, that's what evil's here to do. And it talks about our oppressors and how it's going to lead to imprisonment. And I mean, Jesus, help me with the quote. Let's find that biblical verse. I needed to actually research it. But Jesus was telling, what was it, his apostles? That through following him, we're all going to see levels of persecution. Something along those lines. So, if in fact, that's another projection I feel too many Christians in this country especially are doing, and also worldwide, where we project as though, yes, we believe in Christ, but we're not following in his footsteps. if we're not facing any levels of persecution in our lives, we should be questioning can we even claim Christianity at that point? With this much evil running rampant? Come on. These are realizations I've had, and I just hope in trying to voice them, it's not more so triggering, that it actually leads to people considering, wow, have I been projecting? Because we all do it. I believe that's another deceitful tactic that has been programmed into our brains, and we fabricate far too much.
Whatsoever, again and again and again. So it's an absolute lie that has killed thousands of kids.
And what we discovered and reported for the first time was this link between what appeared to be a novel type of intestinal inflammation and autistic regression in previously developmentally normal children. And among those, the majority had regressed into autism, according to their parents, following the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
By the way, I got to call out that man and his lies. Okay, it's fully exposed through Janet, I believe through episode 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, probably all the way through the end of the series. Exposes that man and what he's done in the experiments, the horrendous experiments overseas, in Africa, all over, and then rolled out worldwide via the pandemic, and then also rolled out worldwide via the childhood vaccine schedule. These individuals are freaking demonic. It is unbelievable. They use words that mean something to us in a colorful way. Of course, that geek utilizes the synagogue of Satan as a front man, as a face. He fits a narrative in our culture today that it more so is perfect, deceiving. Looks like just a nerdy, lovable character, and under the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and fancy words, they're literally fulfilling genocidal murder. That's exactly it. That's exactly the devil. Like 100%. Let's be real. More than seeing these people face accountability and imprisonment, or if tried and convicted, a noose. I just want to see them stripped of this impact they could have, that they're having on all of us, once again, to breathe health back into our lives again.
It wasn't our place to censor their story because it may be uncomfortable for public health. Our job was to report that story accurately in order that it might lead to further investigation. And the paper explicitly said, this paper does not prove an association between MMR vaccine and the syndrome described.
Wow.
More work is needed to resolve this issue. That was the conclusion of the paper.
Wow.
As an investigative medical journalist, I've spent the last 7 years working on one of the best medical talk shows in the world. We know in medicine that there have been many, many studies proving that vaccines do not cause autism. But the problem I have always had with that is thousands and thousands of parents all telling the same story.
Yes.
My child got a vaccine, usually the MMR vaccine, and then that night or the next day broke out in a fever. And then when they came out of the fever, lost speech, lost the ability to walk, basically regressed into what we know as autism and never came back. Doctors used to be told to listen to their patient. That was the cornerstone of medicine as we know it.
Boom.
But something's changed recently where the patient doesn't know what they're talking about. And these parents, with their story of their children, have just been written off as though they have no idea what's really going on with their child. Right. I have 2 kids. And anyone that has children knows that when we first have babies, we are overly sensitive to every little hiccup, every cough, every sniffle. So to say that a parent was just unaware that their child had issues, and suddenly they realized 1 year later that, they have autism, that doesn't make sense to me. And so I wanted to look into this story and find out, what is this disconnect between medicine, science, and real parents?
Oh, beautifully said. That just laid it out for us. How is it we are discrediting these individuals and demonizing these individuals when they lived it? They know it, and it's thousands upon thousands, which in fact they continue to bring the receipts. They bring these individuals in, and as gut-wrenching as it is, like that, we need to see that for ourselves. That is the real truth. That is real science. That is real data. Okay? This is in and of itself more profoundly landing on truth than any study that, especially these companies that are mega profiting, once again, we're talking about companies that have paid like they've been convicted of crimes and paid out the largest criminal settlements in history. Nothing even comes close to what Pfizer, Bayer has paid out. Is billions. But when you look at the profitability side, they've brought in trillions. So to them, it's a great business model. It's right here, folks. This is everything a parent must absorb. We're not getting this information out to the masses fast enough, and every day that goes by, you can only imagine. It's not just the lives that are being ruined. We're supporting a corrupt infrastructure that keeps rolling out things and funding other tactics that you don't have to be the child getting that needle in your arm. There's other tactics now being rolled out that are affecting us all. It's a great threat. Are we going to do something about it? I sure hope so.
I couldn't wait to be a mum. I remember specifically, before we even got married, talking about how important children would be in our lives.
I wanted a daughter first, then I wanted a son. And we were planning on having 4 children.
We were going to be the most perfect parents that we could be.
Bella was born, and that was a wonderful experience.
Bella was just this angelic, perfect child. She hit all her milestones. I got pregnant with Billy quite quickly. Bella, say hello to Billy. Hello. We've now got a beautiful girl and a beautiful boy. Life was just amazing. So at 2, 4 and 6 months, Billy had his normal baby vaccines. A little bit snivelly, chesty, coldy after maybe the last one. So me, in my perfect mother mode, rushed to the doctor. Is he okay? Do I need to give him anything? Yes, you need to give him antibiotics, just to make sure there's not an infection in there. It didn't clear up. Rushing back to the doctor. We need more antibiotics. Let's just keep this going in him. And I remember my mother calling me out. My mother's a sort of homeopathic hippie. And calling out saying, what are you doing? You're chucking loads of antibiotics down his throat. For what? And I'm saying to her, Mum, with all due respect, you're an artist. And they're doctors. So they know best. No. He was due his MMR vaccination at 12 months. So the morning, exactly to the day, my friend, she said to me, listen, I've heard that there may be a problem with this vaccine we're about to take Billy for, the MMR. And I said, Liz, are you crazy? What is the matter with you? If there was a problem with vaccination, it would be headline news. The doctor would be calling me up saying, do not bother coming in. This is not a safe vaccine. None of that is happening. You're being negative, you're being careless, and you're listening to some rumour that you heard somewhere. Billy could become deaf if I don't take him in now and get him this MMR.
Most of the evidence linking measles with autism is kind of settled down, and most of the doctors and scientists agree that it probably isn't the major cause.
I've been working in pediatrics for almost 20 years. I think most pediatricians view vaccines as they're the number one thing they do for kids.
Unfortunately.
There we go.
All right.
All right. Okay. I'm young enough to not remember the days of kids in an iron lung because they were battling polio. Polio has essentially been eradicated from this country. In '98, the Wakefield study came out. My son had just been born. That study kind of pointed a finger at the MMR. As a parent, I was scared to give the MMR to my son. And as a matter of fact, I didn't give it to him on time because I wanted to see what additional studies would show. And over time, additional studies did show that, no, it's safe. And so he did get the vaccine.
Manipulated
everybody
studies.
Stopped vaccinating. We'd be going back to the dark ages.
Nope.
When a CDC scientist who'd been there at that time 17 years tells you this is how you access data, it didn't take me very long to realize, I better do what he says, because he knows what he's talking about.
I just want to tell you one thing. Right now, I'm sitting in a very pretty position in terms of providing you a lot of information.
He asked me, what data sets are you going to request? And I said, well, I'm going to request 2 of the studies that you've done on thimerosal, the mercury-containing preservative that's used in some of the vaccines. And he said, well, that's fine, but I want you to request the MMR data set first. And this is the study by Frank DiStefano and his colleagues in 2004.
It was the one study where we could end up creating a mess while the CDC tried to sort out something they couldn't understand.
The day Billy got the MMR was a living nightmare. It was the worst day of my life, to be honest with you.
Oops. I came in and I saw him lying in his cot, listless. he started this uncontrollable shaking. Imagine coming out of a frozen pond.
His eyes were doing this, and he was shaking like this.
And I remember she grasped him and held him really tight to her chest.
There's immediate fear in John, and there's immediate, Mummy, this is not going to happen. I don't know what is wrong with you, but this is not going to happen. And we get to hospital, we rush him in, doctors are coming in and looking at him, and that's when they said, he's had a reaction, he's had a seizure, this is normal, this is common for many, many children who have this vaccination. It's absolutely okay, he's going to be fine. Nobody ever told me that there would be any side effects to any of the vaccinations my children had.
Wow. Serious.
Following his febrile convulsion that he had the same day of the MMR, we were told to take him home.
He slept in the bed with us for the night. He seemed just very, very sleepy. In fact, he didn't really ever wake up to the Billy that we had before.
Oh, man. Guys.
For me, it became really necessary to start looking at what types of medical issues are these children going through? What are the other factors that have affected them, that have brought them to this level of symptomology that we call autism? This is now probably the mid-90s. I came to notice that there was a very high use of antibiotics amongst these children, but B, what became pretty interesting was seeing the number of families who were reporting that their child had a regressive type of behavior occur right after their vaccinations. A lot of these parents were showing me footage of their children who had been completely developing normally until 18 months, and then all of a sudden post-vaccination had developed incredible regression. Children who had speech anywhere close to 50 to 100 words and had completely lost all of their words. Children who were extremely attached and interactive with their parents and had suddenly become isolated, no longer responding to their own name. And this was all happening right after their MMR vaccines.
How is it the programming? I mean, look at this innocence. The programming has ran so deep. I've seen some people trickle in and trickle out. And yeah, it could be a busy schedule. It could be something else. It could be, oh, maybe they've actually seen this before. I don't know, right? But it could be that they're so programmed and ingrained. It's just like, oh, phooey. Like, once again, like how that mother was just explaining. And there's countless stories, much more to get engaged. They blow this out of the water, to be honest. But, why we got to challenge, we got the great humbling. We got to challenge this programming, this spoon-fed narrative that it just is what it is. And it's the echo chamber. It's the regurgitation. Everyone's doing it. You need to do it to get your kid in sports or in a school program, more indoctrination, like unbelievable. But, we must realize, okay, because not every child, excuse me, just develop autism and these other horrific diseases. A lot of children are no longer with us due to these shots. That's indisputable. Okay, there is reactions, and it's indicated on some that it could be severe, or even death. So we must realize that in rolling those dice, that shot could be no different than a bullet. That shot could literally take our children from us. So, I mean, we just got to question things. Like, could it be that our children would live out healthier lives without it versus with it? Because that is what is important to us. And there's a reason why none of these pharmacies or pharmaceuticals or companies and all this Western complex hasn't come out with definitive studies on unvaccinated children versus vaccinated. It's always been vaccinated versus this vaccine. So it's manipulated data right there at the core of its study. Because if we even just looked at those Amish communities and other individuals, and I'm getting ahead of myself, they bring this data full-fledged. Let's just continue. I love you guys.
My oldest son, Ian, was born normal, developing normally. He was this beautiful boy, and We ended up at our 12-month visit, which is 1 year. Then they gave him multiple vaccines at once. And within 7 days, he had 104 fever and a rash all over his body.
Come on.
He had previously been noted in our videos, home videos, that he was walking and actually running at that point. 7 days after the vaccine, he was no longer able to do that.
This is heart-wrenching.
He was falling down. He became a really sick little boy.
So the question for those of us investigating autism is age of exposure to MMR a risk for autism? And in order to understand why that might be, you have to understand something of the history of MMR vaccine. In 1987, there was an MMR vaccine that was being used in Canada, produced by SmithKline Beecham. And that vaccine caused meningitis. It was recognized quickly, and that vaccine was withdrawn in Canada.
Wow.
However, in the same month that it was withdrawn in Ontario, it was licensed in the UK. The name was simply changed from Trivarix to Pluzarix. In the UK, it was used for 4 years, and likewise, it caused meningitis and had to be rapidly withdrawn.
It proves all of this is evil at the root of it. The deception. Okay, didn't work there, but they know the outcome. Well, let's profit off of this country and we'll change the name. True deception.
There was a public outcry. There was an acute loss of confidence
Look at that.
by the public in vaccine policymakers, and the vaccine should, at that point, have been destroyed. It wasn't. It was then shipped to developing countries like Brazil, where it was used in a mass vaccination campaign. And there was an epidemic of meningitis. So it was entirely predictable.
Wow.
Now, scientists studied that epidemic, and what they found is that the risk for meningitis was associated with age of exposure. The younger you got the MMR vaccine, the greater the risk of meningitis. For people like me investigating autism, the question was, is there a similar risk in autism? Is age of exposure to MMR a risk for autism just as it was for meningitis? We shared with the US Congress and the CDC the hypothesis.
The story as told to us, which we have an obligation to report, is that the majority of children regressed following a period of normal development in the face of MMR vaccination. That does not mean it is the cause of the disease.
The Institute of Medicine is a body of scientists and physicians that review the available data on vaccine safety and then advise our government on vaccine research policy. Well, because Andy Wakefield had put forth this theory that the age at which you receive the MMR may increase your risk of autism, the IOM looked to the CDC to do that very study. It was a study about timing. Does the earlier you receive the MMR vaccine increase the risk of autism?
When we talk about the MMR study, nobody had ever requested those data because it was a big secret that you could do it. Thompson told me to email such and such a person, and then on the inside, I also found out that one of the people preparing these data sets for me was Bill Thompson.
They don't really want people to know that this data exists. Again, I just can't believe we actually got you that data.
Thompson couldn't send these documents directly to Brian Hooker because that would have been illegal. What Thompson identified was a legal loophole that is referred to as a citizen's request. That allowed Thompson to deliver to Brian Hooker potentially classified information in a legal way.
Guys, let's keep in mind, as I tried to promote this very episode on Facebook, shut down. Shut down. What does that tell us? Right here, right now, they're still manipulating the information, so we're not waking up fast enough when we continue. And, you know, if they are effective enough on shutting down UNMUZZLED chat and other individuals exposing these horrific crimes, they're crimes against humanity, they're war crimes. This infringes upon Nuremberg Code numerous times, like right here, manipulating data, changing names. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Not proper informed consent? We need to beat back the curtain. All this censorship. It's the root of that 100% is evil, and from the God of this world, not our loving creator. He gave us agency.
You get checked in England with your babies at certain times, by health visitors. So 9 months, Billy had his full-blown check, and it says no parental concerns, baby laughing, babbling, talking. So we passed that with flying colours. 18 months is when they next come in. And by this time, we know there's something seriously wrong with Billy.
Probably within 5 or 6 days, the first signs really was this vacancy. He wasn't the same smiley little baby that he was before. He had a blank expression. Then the diarrhea kicked in.
His tummy started to get bigger and bigger, bloated, rock-hard bloated tummy. He would start to walk on tiptoes. His hair fell out in this dreadful, high-pitched scream, sort of whiny scream developed from him. And then came the head banging, the constant banging against his crib, the constant banging against the floor or a wall or anything that he could find to bang his head on. He would thrash it and thrash it. John and I would lie in bed at night just listening to this thud, thud, thud.
Thud.
There's nothing. He's now not even noticing his sister who he used to play with. John comes through the front door after work. No recognition that we were his parents or this child even belonged to us. Nothing. Nothing. Gone.
I mean, that was the time where our boy changed from what he was to a real tragic case of a child who regressed into this autistic state and lost everything. Lost everything.
The CDC, the way that they do research studies is very reactionary. They look at something that's creating press and creating a buzz that could actually lower vaccination rates, and that's what they study. They don't study vaccines proactively. So if Andy had never done his original study, gotten that published in The Lancet, would have never created the uproar that rightfully it should have created, then the CDC would have never studied this.
The press conference for the Lancet paper was called by the Dean of the Medical School, who was the chairman of the media committee.
Temporal association between MMR and autism was initially made in the United States.
I had done an extensive research into measles vaccine safety and MMR vaccine safety in the pre-licensing phase. In other words, what safety studies had been done before these vaccines were put onto the market and into children. The 250-page report was compiled by me, showing that the vaccine safety studies for MMR in particular were lamentable. They were lamentable. There are many assumptions had been made about the safety of this vaccine, and there had been problems which had been airbrushed. So I wrote to my colleagues and the Dean, and I said, going forward, there are going to be questions about what parents should do next. I cannot, in due conscience, support the continued use of the MMR vaccine, having done this research. I said I will continue to vigorously support the use of the single vaccine, but can no longer support the use of the triple MMR vaccine. So the Dean, as chairman of that committee, had three choices. He could have not had a press conference. He could have banned me from the press conference. Or when the question came up, as inevitably it would, what do parents do next about vaccinating their children? He knew what my response would be. He could deflect the question to someone else. When the question came up on the day, he directed it straight to me.
To assure you, we are not at all.
Uh-oh. Are you kidding me right now? What's going on? I'm still live. Are you kidding me right now with this? We are 28. It's froze.
And came up on the day, he directed it straight to me.
To assure you, we are not.
Come on. What? This is 2750. Bear with us, folks. Very interesting that we're having a technical difficulty, and it seems like my feed's coming through fine. Let's restart this. Close this out. What is going on? That is, I don't know. Is there something to it? I don't know. Here, let's jump right. Let's kick this back off. Open this sucker up. Just a whole new window. Let's see. Do we say a little prayer? 27.
In California, the worst measles outbreak in 15 years is...
Are you freaking kidding me right now? So you can see this time ticker is still going on, yet the video stopped.
He's here, you bet.
Oh, it kicked off here.
I'm grateful my son lived.
Ugh.
So that was so naive.
He was hitting it out of the park right here. So it looks like there's a segment that's glitching out. I ought to look into going to, I believe there's an actual web page, and that's where we have the Vaxxed 3 pulled up. So I could actually try researching that and see if it plays in its entirety. This is troubling. Well, let's just go here. I apologize about that difficulty. We're in this together, and clearly Facebook didn't want this out. So I imagine they're doing all they can to minimize this from getting out full stop, right? So, all right, let's just continue.
All I recommended at that press conference was that parents opt for the use of the single vaccines, single measles, single mumps, single rubella, until the issue all I had been resolved scientifically. What happened when I made that recommendation, unilateral decisions were made by the government in the UK to withdraw the importation license for the single vaccines, Merck opting in the US to cease the production of the single vaccines, giving parents no option. I said to a senior representative of the Department of Health, why, if your objective is to protect children against serious infectious disease, why would you take away the option of how parents do that?
Wow.
And she said, because if we allow parents the choice of single vaccines, it would destroy our MMR program. In other words, the concern was for the protection of the program over and above protection of children.
Says it all. Says it all.
No one's career has ever been advanced in...
Look at all this propaganda outlet going against an individual that... Unbelievable.
The medical industrial complex
says it
by being outwardly and openly critical of the vaccine industry. I'm Mark Vaxxed, father of a daughter diagnosed with autism back in 1998. I've written 2 books that have come out of the autism movement, have been projected into autism advocacy ever since. Miguel was born typical.
I'm sorry. We should have probably paused that and reference those books. Those could be very effective tools in of themselves. I'll just make note. 30, 10. I want to look into them myself, but I don't want to sit here and just rewind and throw us too far off track.
Everything was fine, was developing normally through her first birthday. We have vivid memories of early language, joint attention, lots of play. She was adorable, beautiful, cute. And then somewhere in the months after, she began to slip away, and she lost language, and she began to retreat into a world of her own. And at 2 years, 9 months, we got a formal diagnosis of full syndrome autism. It was a hopeless, pessimistic future that was laid out in front of us. She was going to be disabled for the rest of her life, likely to be non-vocal in an institution, and that the best thing we could do was to accept the inevitable. Part of the story we heard from the Harvard experts was autism was genetic. It was low and relatively constant prevalence. The more I learned, the more clear it was that whole orthodox view was false, completely false. Revolutions only happen in science when there is an anomaly that the old orthodoxy can't explain. With autism, the anomaly was the explosion in cases, which meant that what people were trying to describe as a genetic, neurologically based condition couldn't be genetic. It could only be environmental. It could only be some set of things that had happened to children. And you had to ask the question, what might it have been?
Yes, that's so important.
One of my personal training clients was the director of programs for LWT, London Weekend Television.
And this guy said, why don't you do a program, and people out there, there may be someone out there with this condition.
He said this is going to be an unbelievable story.
So we've got nothing to lose. Right now, this child is either going to kill himself because he's going to smash his head to pieces, or we are going to go insane because everybody here is miserable.
And that program was aired, and we received 250,000 email hits.
Wow. Computers were kind of new then, the whole internet computer thing. Ours crashed. We'd set up a Billy Tommy website just in case one person might be able to help us. Crashed. The television station's computers crashed. They had never seen anything like this before.
Wow.
The parents had exactly the same story as us. Antibiotics, some with chickenpox, a lot. Vaccine. Bang, the symptoms are all the same. The diarrhea, the constipation, the high pitch, scream, the banging of the head. We've all lived through it. It's the same story.
And it was Polly's idea to put all of this stuff together in a magazine called Autism File.
Let's all ask the questions and maybe someone can help.
These questions from these parents were not being answered by the doctors that they went to see. They came to us out of desperation, and we had 45,000 subscribers within 4 months.
When I originally got the MMR autism data, I came up with my own analysis plan, and I stepped through logically and systematically how the data should have been approached. I looked first of all at males versus females. Then I looked at black males. The relative risk of them receiving an autism diagnosis was astronomical, and it was highly statistically significant. I really had to scratch my head and say, I know nothing about the MMR vaccine. And so that's when I originally called Andy.
Wow. Really? After everything that had happened, everything we'd all been through, everything that the families had suffered for the last 15 years, and the CDC had known all along there was this MMR autism risk.
As I started to divulge more of the conversations, and I think it really hit him that this was a major crack in the wall of the CDC.
The first thing that Thompson did was to plot a graph of percentage of children vaccinated against age at first MMR vaccination. The children with autism are represented by the pink line, the children without autism by the blue line. Now, if there's no link between early MMR and autism, those two lines should track together, whatever the age at first MMR. Now, they do track together until they get to 15 months. Then they separate, and they continue to separate thereafter.
Wow.
This was their first indication that MMR vaccine was causing autism. And that finding alone rocked Thompson back on his heels.
This was a huge issue for Andy.
So I said to Brian, are you recording these conversations?
Recording phone conversations was not really palatable to me. It almost seemed cruel.
Whistleblowers can disappear as easily as they came. They're like a fish on a hook. And your job is to get them into the boat.
Wow. This is crazy. Well done.
Temple walked at 12 months, so he had been walking for an entire month before we went in for the next set of vaccinations. The minute we walked into the pediatric office, Lou, his twin, she's screaming her head off. I mean, she knows what's going on. She doesn't want the doctor touching her. I look up, and there she's got the shots lined up. 3 for him, 3 for her. By the second shot, Lucinda had flipped herself over. So I had to stop looking at what I was doing, unstrap her, get her out. Well, the minute I get her out and I calm her down a little bit and I look over, he's screaming. I look at the shots and I notice that one of hers was gone. There are only 2 shots left for her. And I asked the nurse practitioner, I said, what happened to that other shot? She says, oh my goodness, I gave it to him. I said, which one was it? She said, it was the other MMR. I said, call the doctor. This baby is screaming his head off. You're giving him an extra shot. I don't know what the effects of that's going to be. We're leaving. And I left. So she never got her shots.
Holy
I go home. This baby cried. I put him down on his little blanket. He starts banging his head on the floor. The next morning, I go in his room. And he's staring in the space. And he's looking around like this. As if, he's a bit paralyzed. Not the baby who was always doing this every morning, smiling for me to get him out of bed. And I pick him up and he does this. And I said, what has happened to my baby? So I called the clinic and I said, I think my child's had adverse reaction to those shots yesterday. She says, no.
Intended consequences. With all the cover-ups, with all the manipulation of data, they know. This is intended consequences. They're not adverse effects. Let's be real with ourselves and use real lingo and language that more so aligns with the reality of the situation.
I'm waiting for a representative from Merck. I don't think it was a reaction to that.
Bill Thompson looked at African Americans. He saw that those African Americans that got the MMR on time were 2.64 times more likely to get an autism diagnosis than those African Americans that received the MMR after 3 years of age.
What this was suggesting is that among the blacks, the ones that were getting vaccinated earlier were more likely to have autism.
At that point, the group of researchers that was working on this particular study, they were having weekly meetings. Colleen Boyle, who was the head of developmental disabilities branch, and Marshalyn Jurgen Alsop, who was one of Thompson's direct supervisors, Frank DiStefano, who was the head of the immunization safety office, and then a postdoctoral research associate named Tanya Bassin. In that meeting, Thompson brought up the fact that African Americans were showing a highly statistically significant risk of autism if they got the MMR on time.
What is said in these closed door meetings? I mean, do people say, oh, well, this is unacceptable, or is it just, do they always say, oh, this can't be right? Or
I'm not going to lie, but I also don't want to say things to you right now that aren't some written form.
Right.
The analysis regarding the African Americans was the 8 on the Richter scale earthquake that just shook through the CDC.
I take him to see the pediatrician that I know. And she looks at me, she closes the door, and she whispers, she says, Sheila, I believe he has autism. I said, what? Like Rain Man? She says something like that. I'm going to refer you out to a neurologist. And we go see the neurologist the next week. He says he has every classical symptom of autism. I do not believe this. I was angry. When he was explaining to me what Candace autism is, he told me he was born that way. I said, no, he wasn't.
Clearly there was a very high risk of autism in African American children. But here's the thing. We know that autism is 4 times more common in boys. And so to see that effect mirrored in the African American children was a compelling finding.
When I looked at African American males only, the relative risk was 3.36. It just blew my mind. And that's when I wanted to call Bill Thompson on the phone. And his statement to me was, oh, you found it.
It appears in the final publication is that race in general is downplayed.
Of course it is.
Temple's twin is amazing. She is fluent in 3 languages.
Twin.
She speaks French like a native.
Wow.
She is an A student. She plays classical piano. With all of the guilt that I feel from that day, one of the best decisions I made for her was to walk out of that office without her being vaccinated. At the end of this journey, I don't want to be one of those mothers standing there saying what I wish I would have, could have, should have done. I want to be able to say, I gave it everything that I had. I gave it my best shot. His twin is going into the 11th grade. And for someone who still can't manage to cross the street, now am I grateful he's here? You bet. I'm grateful my son lived. But I was so naive that he would live a fulfilling life. He would end up being a happy man, having a family. My dreams for him. And every year that goes by, the older my son gets, the further that dream seems to be.
All about vaccines! So what do vaccines do?
Vaccines build up your immune system and make you stronger to fight off disease.
Here's the spoon feeding, folks. Spoon feeding, programming, manipulating our minds to create defective wiring, blind trust. Unbelievable. Once again, we can only fathom as to the financial gains and what they can roll out with all that in this material world. The deception is incredibly deep. We've all fallen prey to it on not just this category, so much around us in this life, even history. There needs to be a rewriting of so much of our history that is, you know, we'll just keep it right there. More to come on future episodes.
Disease.
Are vaccines safe?
Yes, studies involving millions of children have shown no connection between vaccines and autism.
Lies. Stick to the schedule.
The CDC's own vaccine schedule, which we are required to adhere to as parents in America, recommends that our children get the MMR between 12 and 18 months. But in this hidden data provided to us by William Thompson, it is clear that for African Americans, this is actually the most dangerous time to deliver the MMR.
Wow.
The CDC, in my opinion, is one of it's where I go to if I need information about an infectious disease. I probably either go on their website or open one of their reference books every day. That building is filled with a lot of scientists that are smarter than me.
Yep. Prove it. Bring it. Exhibition 1.
The analysis plan is one of the most important parts of a scientific study. It's the laws or the rules by which the scientist will adhere to while doing the study. And this analysis plan is put together by the scientists themselves. Sometimes their superiors weigh in. But once they've locked that analysis plan, they've said this is how we're going to use the data. And you can't deviate from that analysis plan or you're at risk of fraud, scientific fraud. Did they deviate from the analysis plan after seeing something that they didn't like? If they did, we have a real problem.
Thompson not only played a major role in developing the analysis plan, he was the numbers guy. He was responsible for collecting the data, analyzing the data, and presenting the results. And by November 2001, the results were in.
Now, with the MMR autism one, we had an analysis plan that we were supposed to execute as was written. And, you know, I'm going to be sharing these draft analysis plans that we had, and you can see whether we did what we said we're going to do.
That analysis plan had been agreed upon not only by the co-authors, but also CDC superiors.
In order to conceal the effect of the MMR, what they had to do was to reduce the number of children in the study in order to reduce what is referred to as the statistical power. That is, the ability of the study to detect a difference if one genuinely exists. In the analysis plan, they had agreed to use two sources of information. The first was the children's school records, and the second was the children's Georgia birth certificate records. So while every child in the study had a school record, only half of the children in the study had a Georgia birth certificate record because the other half had been born in other states. So the analysis plan was explicit. Information on a child's race was to come from their school record. But when confronted by data that
what is going
revealed an increased risk of autism in African American children, so they deviated from their analysis plan. They chose to get the race data not from the school record, but from the Georgia birth certificate record.
Instead of having 3,000 individuals.
You know what I'm going to do? Well, it's still playing, which is so interesting. I'm going to close out these other windows just to make sure. You know what I'll do? I'll bring this down, bring this one up. I don't know what's going on. I've watched this in its entirety through BitChute multiple times. And all right, I'm going to pull up the webpage and see if I can play a different source if this continues.
In the study, it went down to about 1,800. The relative risk went down from 2.64 to 1.8, but more importantly, that relative risk was no longer statistically significant.
I now ask you to step forward to receive your prize from the hands of His Majesty the King.
I am Rick Montagnier, MD. I am a virologist by training. I obtained the Nobel Prize for my contribution to the discovery of the AIDS virus. The vaccine-autism interaction is a worldwide problem, not only in this country, in Europe, but also in Asia, even in Africa. The MMR vaccination, in a very early stage of infancy, before the age of 2, was more prominent in Afro-American children, and this was hidden for some time. This fraud, of course, ranks very high, to my opinion, in the ethics of medicine and science. CDC in the past has done a very important work on the discovery of AIDS, so I'm very disappointed to see a different situation with CDC dealing with autism.
Shortly after Julie Gerberding became head of the CDC, I began to communicate with her and ask her to come to my office. There didn't seem to be objective research going on. There was the CDC trying to promote vaccination for children, and then they were doing the safety research themselves.
In CDC's judgment, the best public policy is to continue vaccination unchanged while aggressively working to try to identify causes of developmental disabilities.
The CDC, I just thought, was institutionally conflicted.
The CDC can't take money directly from pharma, but they can set up a foundation, and the foundation can attract donations from commercial interests, and does. Merck, GlaxoSmithKline, now Pfizer, Sanofi, Aventis have huge multi-billion-dollar vaccine businesses. They're profitable. They've grown because some of these new high-tech vaccines that are patented, they're high-priced, get protected by this little cocoon of regulatory capture.
Unacceptable.
And are guaranteed multi-billion-dollar franchises.
When I was working at Merck, I was a sales rep for Vioxx. The whole scandal started when it was discovered that Merck had manipulated data and covered up the fact that Vioxx actually caused twice the amount of heart attacks and strokes than the placebo. What I learned from that experience was just because things are on the market does not mean they are safe. I think we get into a very dangerous territory with vaccinations. If a drug company gets just one vaccine added to the schedule, they can make upwards of $30 billion in 1 year.
It's no secret. I think they've published their intention, which is they want to create an environment of constant vaccination from cradle to grave. They want infant vaccines and expanded flu shots DTaP boosters, Gardasil shots, meningococcal shots. They want adult vaccines. They want you and me to come in and get a constant barrage of shots. And then they want vaccines for the elderly.
We have a highly profitable product because the safety testing isn't as rigorous as a normal pharmaceutical drug. The gold standard is double-blind, placebo-based, long-term study. And that just isn't done with vaccines because they're classified in a different way as a public health measure. And they haven't been tested in combination with other vaccines. Yet doctors give 6 to 9 doses per visit. It's insane. If pharmaceutical drug was tested like this, it wouldn't be on the market. But because it's a vaccine and the safety testing is less rigorous, our children are being experimented on.
I don't like to look at autism from a behavioral perspective. I look at it from more of a what causes it in each child. When I want to define autism, I have to say that it's the inability to detoxify the way you're supposed to, or at the rate that you're supposed to. And it all has to do with this toxic overload. These children are not detoxifying from the vaccinations. Same thing with GMO products. The pesticides in our food, if I can prevent the child from being exposed to more toxins, then when I'm teaching the child, at least the child's getting better and not continuously getting worse.
Without a doubt, what's happened to Billy has changed his life.
Yeah, there you go, you got straight.
What I have on my hands now is a 19-year-old man. He's 6'2". He is volatile. On good days, Billy is brilliant. He's an angel. On bad days, the slightest thing can trigger him and he's scary.
I'm going to go downstairs and get
Billy,
Daddy right now.
You need to stay up here, okay?
I'm going to kill Daddy right now.
Bill, listen to me. I'm going to stay with you up here and you're going to try and calm down, okay?
The reason they become aggressive and dangerous in some cases is because they have no ability to communicate.
Because Mummy asked Kent.
Okay, this is breaking my heart and is to the feed. You know what? I just found out more data. This is incredible. This is incredibly telling. Let me pull it up, folks. So, come on. Why is it? There are so many hiccups happening. What is going on? So right here on the Vaxxed page, look at this. You can't make this stuff up. Refuse to connect. It's like their videos are down on their own webpage. Video unavailable. What is going on? I'm going to look into this even further. Obviously, on this page, they talk about censorship. We just might have to resort to actual DVDs and ordering things. But I'm still digging to find another source other than BitChute to be able to share links to this data and go through it seamlessly. This is crazy. It says it all. How they went after these doctors, scientists, any individual that started speaking out on this and stripped them of their license, ruin their lives. There's individuals like Janet from the fall of the cabal that is no longer with us, folks. And it's not, they didn't kill themselves. Are you freaking kidding me? This just says it all. This should ramp up the importance to us to ensure freedom of speech. If we can't even gain this data, then we're more so gonna be spoon-fed and believe the lies of the synagogue of Satan. That's just clear. I can't emphasize enough right now how infuriating all this is. It's what's perpetually keeping us in the dark and leading to these health issues. Like, think about it. They diminish enough of us and our future generations. There's inevitably going to be no one left to fight back against this two-tiered infrastructure we're up against and evil in this existence. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah, more of us end up like that, then it's done. They've achieved their goal. This is a war tactic. People don't want to acknowledge that, in fact, we are experiencing beyond World War III. How real the spiritual battle is we are all faced with in this existence. It is insane. It's so clear.
And bringing the sweet corn, and then bringing the chickens here. Because this is your fault.
I'm going to try to find this on Rumble. My goodness.
Mummy.
If you were not able to express your needs, your wants, your desires, your happiness and sadness and so on, you would become aggressive. That's often when we see the worst part of autism.
We had to occupy
Get out of here.
his room and use his video player. And of course, that is a massive intrusion in his space, and he got very upset. Where else in this house can we play a video? Remember? Listen, Bill. Push the stress level, Philly.
Bill, don't touch Danny. Out there, there's millions of me's, there's millions of polytomies with vaccine-damaged children. I am telling you this because I do not want you to live the life that I've led. I do not want you to go through the pain.
Huge.
I do not want to see you suffer or your family suffer.
Yes.
That is why I'm telling you. I have no other reason to tell you about it. It's not my concern. My kid's already damaged.
What is going on? Oh.
I am a senior research scientist here at MIT in the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. I have a bachelor's degree in biology from MIT, and I have MSEE and PhD degrees, also from MIT in electrical engineering and computer science. I became interested in autism a long time ago when my best friend at the time had a son who was diagnosed with autism following a DPT shot. He ran a high fever after the shot, seizures a week later, and then was later diagnosed with autism.
We have to accept the fact that autism is new, that before 1930, the rate of autism in the world was effectively zero. And then for a long time, it was 1 in 10,000.
I got interested in studying autism 8 years ago when I saw the numbers go up, and I was quite alarmed because I could see that the trend was exponential growth. And exponential growth is extremely scary.
Since really the mid to late 80s, we've gone from this low prevalence environment to a rate of increase where the trend is still vertical. We have not seen a flattening in trend.
Every couple of years, the CDC provides a number of what percentage of the kids are diagnosed with autism. And you've got the dots going all the way back to 1975. You draw the line, it is a perfect exponential curve. If we assume that things are going to continue as they have for the past 30 years into the future, we can predict that by 2032, 80% of the boys born will end up on the autism spectrum. Half the children, 80% of the boys.
So I'm having a hard time finding it here, just a FYI, but I'm going to plug this Rumble page right here, Vaxxed. It's got the second one, the third one, but I'm in incredible amounts of data, and it's nice to see the views being over what we achieve here. So I definitely would love to plug all this information. Just incredible amounts of information, but I toggle through everything and I cannot find it. So I sure hope this continues to play more with less interruption, but I'm trying to find a backup source as we speak. But yeah, hopefully it will continue playing. This is insane. Where is it? Oh, come on, play. Can't make this stuff up. Come on. I haven't found another source yet. Incredible.
When the CDC researchers set out to do the study, they asked themselves the question, if early MMR vaccine causes autism, in which children would we be most likely to find this effect? Their answer is children with no developmental concerns for the first year of life. Children who were perfectly healthy until they received their MMR vaccine. They called this group isolated autism. Now, this does not refer to an isolated case of autism or an isolated group with autism. They isolated autism out. These were children who had no comorbid conditions apart from their autism. No cerebral palsy, no mental retardation, no visual or hearing impairment, no epilepsy, and no birth defects. This risk group includes essentially every healthy child in the world.
I'm a single father raising a 15-year-old, severely autistic, nonverbal teenage daughter. When she was 15 months old, she received a round of vaccines that included the MMR and the DTaP. She developed...
Here we are at 57:22. In California, we've had so many interruptions.
Ones for the isolated, ones that...
Oh, the timestamp isn't aligned. Okay, here it is.
My daughter... When she was severely...
Okay, here we go. We're going to try this other source.
High fever.
We're going to close this one out. And hopefully this one will pray. Yes, let's pray. Let's make sure this works. And I'm not even joking. So through Rumble, finally found it. We'll see if we could plug the source. So this is a whole separate source that is able to have it on their channel, but I couldn't find it on the official Vaxxed one. But hopefully this one plays uninterrupted. I don't know what's going on with BitChute and these other sources. This is kind of like breaking news as we are on a live. In ways it's less than ideal. I get that. People could be annoyed. People might drop out due to the fact. But this is extremely telling as to how hard evil is fighting to keep us from this information. Real data, real science, real life stories. That says it all right there.
Autistic, nonverbal teenage daughter. When she was 15 months old, she received a round of vaccines that included the MMR and the DTaP. She developed a high fever. When the fever broke, she lost everything.
My daughter was 6 weeks old.
By the way, can we do something? It's not hard. Look at this. Boom. We got to start smashing these like buttons on every episode that brings any value to your life. It helps magnify the impact and get more people to actually watch it. It's giving it more credibility. Look at this. Not even one thumbs down on this particular channel that has plugged this. And it's great to see this type of viewership on this. Can we, whether it's through me, whether it's through these channels, whether you seek and find a legitimate source that doesn't have the interruptions we've experienced here today, we got to get this information out. Period. Full stop. I would be ever so grateful if you'd smash that like button, integrate comments, and boom, share, copy, post this in your socials. It is so important that we get this information out.
When I took her in for her vaccination, 2 hours later, she had a 5-minute seizure. And 2 hours after that, she had another 5-minute seizure.
Mom is here. Come on. Come on.
Man.
Come on, you're okay. You're okay. Come on, baby. Come on, babe. Come on. You can do it. Come on, babe. Come on out. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Keep breathing. Come on. Come on, come on, come on.
The vaccination gave her severe brain damage, and she had seizures every day for the rest of her life until she died in my arms at the age of 15.
There is no good reason to choose not to get a vaccine.
He got his MMR and he got his DTP.
Here's a good reason right there.
He stopped talking.
Projectile vomiting, convulsions.
Another reason.
He went blind in his left eye.
Vaccines took our healthy.
We gonna drink up the spoon-fed bullshit. Sorry, I don't like cursing, but BS of all the owned, controlled, incentivized sources. Whoa. Why is it we ourselves more so have to experience this personally before we're even willing to have the discussions? Share this information with young families that, whether they're in the know or not, like, we just need to be able to have these conversations.
Happy baby and made him unwell.
She lost all acquired speech.
He lost his speech. He lost his eye contact, like the flick of a switch.
If vaccines were unsafe, I think this would be an interesting and reasonable discussion.
Obviously, some minority get hurt by this stuff. I don't understand why this is controversial.
Vaccines are safe. Get vaccinated.
It's like, you know what? Shut the fuck up and let me take every vaccine that Merck wants to shove down my throat.
Autism is not a side effect of vaccine, or to say it another way, because some people don't hear this well. Vaccines do not cause autism.
Hear this well.
Hear this well. Please hear this well.
Hear this well.
Vaccines can induce cause autism.
My grandson,
Daughter Lily,
and my daughter.
My son was fully vaccinated.
my son Jackson.
I had a healthy, typically developing boy.
Please hear this well.
Vaccines cause autism.
One
Boom.
day everyone will know the truth about vaccines. Hear this well.
Yes. Oh, so well done.
I actually think the most interesting results are the elevated ones for the isolated, ones that don't have other comorbid conditions. The effect is where you would think it would happen.
In isolated autism, he saw a very, very strong effect specific to those kids that got the MMR on time. When Bill Thompson ran those numbers, he saw an astronomical effect. Some of the numbers were actually, the relative risks were as high as 7 or 8 times higher with these kids
700%.
that were diagnosed with just isolated autism, no other diagnosis, versus those controls.
Isolated autism is confusing because it sounds small, but it really is a big problem. Because all healthy children, no matter what race, are at risk. For example, my sister's 18 months old and she's supposed to get her MMR shot right now. But if she does, she's 7 times more likely to get autism than if my parents wait until after 3 years old.
Fantastic. They're using evil's tactics by using children to speak out on the pro effects of vaccines against them. Well done. Well done. I applaud. I applaud
So
it.
I hope my parents don't do it.
Yes.
Here's what's really scary.
Wow.
When we look at isolated autism, we see that there's a up to 7-fold increase in the incidence of autism between those that received the vaccine between 12 and 18 months versus those that got it after 3 years old. But let's be perfectly clear. Every child in this study had received the MMR vaccine. What would the numbers be if you compared children who got the vaccine between 12 and 18 months versus children that never got the vaccine at all? This is often referred to as the vax versus unvaxxed study. And the CDC refuses to do this study, even though every drug that we take has been through this exact study. There's a group who take the drug, and then they compare it with a group that do not take the drug.
Right.
And they see, are there more side effects and complications with the group that takes the drug? So why does the CDC refuse to do the vax versus unvaxxed study?
Good question.
Probably because when we look at the results of this study, we realize that the risk would be astronomical and is likely to be one of the major reasons we're seeing this skyrocketing increase of autism worldwide.
Just like the African American children, they went into the room and they sliced and diced the data in an effort to get rid of that effect. This is Colleen Boyle's meeting notes, how they plan to present the data by these age groups. That after the fact, when the data are in, she writes reformat, and then she puts in new age groups. Even this failed to achieve the desired effect, since in the end they simply omitted the relevant findings from the paper altogether.
Wow.
I was just looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe we did what we did. But we did. Yeah. So it's all there. It's all there.
And you in the health field, you who run our health agencies in this country who are sitting here today, you have an obligation to these kids that you just saw there to make sure that these studies are complete, thorough, so that everybody knows that we have all the facts. And you don't have that.
You don't have that. 2002. Why was that not broadcasted on all the talking head shows? Why? The spoon-fed indoctrination and programming and defective wiring has been so effective. It truly is time that we have a movement of a great humbling. We become the regurgitating and the bigger programming through the programming. Like our influence is what's really perpetuated this evil more than the money and efforts they've put into it. We could shift the paradigm and bring people into the truth and the light that will solely bring health back.
The things we did, because this was such an important topic, was to have them be sworn in. So they were under oath. And if they were doctoring the results of a study and they did it deliberately, they committed a felony.
Yeah.
It used to be 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in more than 250 kids that are being damaged in this country that are autistic. Now, those kids are going to grow up. They aren't going to die. It's not like a lot of diseases where they get infected and they drop dead. They're going to live to be 50, 60 years old. Now, who do you think is going to take care of them? It's going to be us, all of us, the taxpayers. And it's going to cost, I think, as you said, Ms. Maloney, trillions of dollars. So we can't let the pharmaceutical companies and our government cover this mess up today because it ain't gonna go away. And it's gonna cost the taxpayers trillions more if we wait around on it. And for our FDA and HHS and the health agencies to continue to hide behind this facade that there have been studies that conclusively prove otherwise is just wrong too.
Yeah.
So the CDC wasn't just doing this study inside of a bubble. In fact, it was the exact opposite. They were under fire. You had Congressman Dan Burton in front of the Congress demanding answers about mercury and the MMR and vaccine studies and the connection to autism. Dave Weldon, congressman from Florida, is reaching out to Julie Gerberding with serious complaints on how he thinks this entire issue is being handled. On top of that, the Department of Justice is requesting files and data from the CDC because of a previous study called the Verstraeten study that had so many anomalies, it looked like scientific fraud was taking place. So they were suspicious. So then you look at the emails that Thompson's provided to us, and you see that he's reaching out to his line manager, Dr. Melinda Wharton, throwing up red flags, saying, I first spoke with you in September of 2002 regarding the sensitive results we have been struggling with in the MMR autism study. How do you struggle with scientific results? I mean, facts are facts. Data are data. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So you got Dan Burton breathing down their necks. The Department of Justice is requesting files. And William Thompson finds out that Colleen Boyle has brought in a lawyer to help her decide what materials are too sensitive to provide to the Department of Justice. This obviously freaks William Thompson out because later in the email to Wharton, he says, I will be hiring my own personal attorney. And it's extremely unfortunate that we need to be concerned about whether our own legal rights are covered when participating in a study such as this. I mean, what's going on here? We have government scientists lawyering up over a children's safety study. Clearly, this does not sit well at all with Dr. Thompson.
Or me.
Because at the end of this email, he makes what looks to me to be a clear threat. My level of concern has also caused me to seriously consider removing myself as an author on the draft manuscript. So then a few days later, Thompson writes directly to Dr. Walter Ornstein, head of the National Immunization Program, saying, I am not interested in taking all of the political heat that will go along with that study. Thompson has gone all the way to the top of his department. I mean, we don't ever get a response from Walter Ornstein.
Wow.
But Thompson is very clear on what happened next.
Let's see it.
The higher-ups wanted to do certain things, and I went along with it. In terms of chain of command, I was number 4 out of 5.
Dr. Thompson talked about destruction of documents, and that in fall of 2002, there was a meeting with a trash can rolled in, and they selected documents to be destroyed.
I led all the analyses with the DiStefano thing. Literally, everyone else got rid of all their documents, so the only documents that exist right now from that study are mine.
These documents were no doubt federal records. They were very important documents because they showed a very strong statistically significant effect.
He felt that, quite rightly, it would be illegal to destroy those documents, and so in his office he kept not only the hard copies, but the computerized files for that study.
There was a dramatically different result presented before and after the time frame that Thompson alleged that these data were destroyed. If I never had the documents before October 2002, there would be nothing that would show that they actually had the results in hand and they decided to destroy those results. I filed a formal complaint to the Office of Research Integrity and the Department of Health and Human Services. I heard back not long after the complaint was filed, and the letter basically stated that every co-author except for Dr. Thompson denied that any such meeting was scheduled. They denied that any material was destroyed or thrown away. They were calling Dr. Thompson a liar. It was their word against his.
These organizations are not fulfilling why they even got birthed in the first place. We got to demand transparency. We must gain back the freedom of speech. We are not a free people without it. And the fact we have an oppressive government and all these three-letter agencies. I often resort to the alphabet mafia being either the LGB or the alphabet soup as being the news outlets. Whatever, they're not news. They're propagandist machines. But I've also recently heard the alphabet soup being related to all the three-letter agencies. And aren't there hundreds? There's like hundreds. Or was it thousands? But even irregardless, like how many can you list off? I could maybe do 4 or 5. But I don't know the hundreds. Unbelievable. The depth of why it's more than deception. The sheer secrecy against us and everything being weaponized. Once again, this just goes to show what the companies, the owners of these companies, essentially what Janet exposes in the fall of the cabal, the actual cabal, has built out, like what they're able to put the funds towards, that we are funding every shot we're giving, among many other things. The tax, the Federal Reserve, like get out of here. That's what stood up this cabal. We got to abolish that and get back to a decentralized, backed currency. Get back on the gold standard or something. This is just insane.
Dr. Thompson predicted that this would happen.
There's things I haven't even shared with you because I can't prove it. And that's what I struggle with. I don't want to share things with you that I can't prove, that there aren't hard records, because I am worried that the other 4 people will collude and say, no, that's not true.
Dr. Thompson provided meeting notes.
The records were tossed out
to me for precisely the time where the co-authors are claiming that no meeting took place.
That's what I keep seeing again and again and again, where these senior people just do completely unethical, vile things, and no one holds them accountable.
So look, once you have the data, a scientific study like this is a relatively simple process. You just run the data, you get the results, and then you publish those results in a paper. In their own analysis plan, this study was only supposed to take 6 months, from May 2001 to December 2001. So if they weren't destroying data, why did this study end up taking 4 years? The question everybody needs to be asking the CDC is what the heck happened between October 2002 and February of 2004?
The reason you don't see anything else circulating on the study, it was 5 of us behind closed doors for 2 years.
Wow. So after 2 years of secret meetings behind closed doors, DeStefano emerges with the final draft of the MMR study, and they're going to present it to the Institute of Medicine.
People on the IOM move from industry, government, academia, government, industry.
Revolving door.
And then they bounce around. It's all the same people, and there wasn't a really good policeman in all this to really make sure that the vaccine safety studies are done properly and that they're done objectively. It just didn't seem to me like we were running a system that was credible. I had written to Julie Gerberding, and I asked her to postpone the February 9th Institute of Medicine meeting. This report, the Institute of Medicine report, I wanted postponed because of my concern that this was not an exercise in discovering the truth, but was instead a meeting being driven by a desire to short-circuit important research and draw premature conclusions.
The problem is, William Thompson, being the lead scientist, he's going to have to present their findings, and he's not happy about it. In fact, he's so upset that he goes above the lead author DeStefano, above Walter Orenstein, all the way to the head of the CDC, Dr. Julie Gerberding. And in an email, he says, "Dear Dr. Gerberding, I will have to present several problematic results relating to statistical associations between the receipt of MMR vaccine and autism." Basically saying, I'm not going to continue this lie. If you put me up there, I'm going to tell the truth.
Thompson was originally scheduled to provide a briefing because he basically told Director Gerberding that he would have to say that there is a causal association. He was switched at the last minute with Frank DeStefano, who was able to report to the IOM falsely. We have found no association between MMR and autism.
The IOM was the point of no return. And so deprived of the truth, the IOM declared MMR vaccine safe.
It was a rush to judgment to shut the door permanently and completely on the MMR autism link. It's absolutely appalling that much of what I said turned out exactly to be true. They were trying to short circuit the research.
It's the lowest point in my career that I went along with that paper.
After their brilliant work on the MMR study, DeStefano and his team received an award from the Department of Health and Human Services. And then several years later, Dr. Julie Gerberding received an award of her own, a high-paid job as head of the vaccine division at Merck.
Unbelievable.
Clearly, Merck appreciated the work she had done investigating their vaccine.
Sell your soul to the devil.
Just to let you know, I wrote a paper on my results on MMR.
Yeah.
And it will include something that I got from you.
Brian was about to publish a paper using data that could only have come from an inside source at the CDC, a whistleblower. And from that point forward, William Thompson was a marked man.
Andy approached me and said, it's time to publicize the CDC whistleblower.
Well, ironically, 12 years later, while Thompson is bearing his soul to Brian Hooker, in front of Congress, Colleen Boyle is just peddling the same old CDC fraud. But this time it's to a new player, and that's Congressman Bill Posey from Florida.
I wonder if the CDC has conducted or facilitated a study comparing vaccinated children with unvaccinated children yet. Have you done that?
We have actually done a number of studies looking at the relationship between thimerosal vaccines and autism and other developmental disabilities.
The lies from the CDC were still the same. The difference now is we had William Thompson.
Vaccines and their components did not increase the risk for autism.
My time's very limited here. So clearly, definitely, unequivocally, you have studied vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
Nope.
We have not studied vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
Never mind. Just stop there. That was the meaning of my question. You wasted 2 minutes of my time.
Brian had also submitted a related paper to a journal called Nature Neuroscience, and in that paper, he had specifically referred to an unnamed source at the CDC. And my worst fears were realized when a journalist from Nature Neuroscience contacted the CDC, contacted Walter Orenstein. The message went on to Frank DeStefano, who sent it out to the co-authors saying, keep your heads down, this may be coming your way.
The fear was all of a sudden we'd be dredging the river for Bill Thompson.
So I said to him, Brian, we've got to do 3 things. We have got to get Thompson a whistleblower lawyer, we've got to make sure that his documents are with Posey, and we've got to reveal his name. Whistleblowers are in danger only as long as the only people who know their identity are their enemies.
Do vaccines cause autism? In the last 30 years, the childhood vaccine schedule has tripled, while the U.S. autism rate has skyrocketed from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 50.
Cause and effect.
Dozens of published research papers show that, yes, vaccines and autism are linked. Yet the debate rages on, in part because of the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, passed by Congress as a result of pharmaceutical lobbying. It shields drug companies from liability for injuries and deaths caused by the vaccines they manufacture. Vaccines that the federal government admits are unavoidably unsafe. Instead of suing the pharmaceutical company directly, parents are forced to petition the Department of Health and Human Services, and if federal health officials oppose compensation, the case is argued before a special master in the U.S. Claims Court. Many refer to this as vaccine court. Here are some shocking facts about the so-called vaccine court. Pharmaceutical companies do not have to participate in the proceedings at all. Taxpayers pay for all damages. The U.S. Department of Justice acts as the government's lawyer, with taxpayers footing the bill for their defense.
Wow.
Beginning in 2002, there were already thousands of cases accumulating in vaccine court, and the average compensation for an autistic child is in the range of $5 million. So just do the math. The government was facing several $100 billion, possibly $1 trillion in liability as the autism epidemic grew. They had to develop a fraudulent study that would exonerate MMR to deliberately defeat the cases in vaccine court to avoid paying the $1 trillion. So the thousands of autism petitioners were denied their fair day in court by a corrupt and deliberate obstruction of justice.
Yes.
It is one of the most unethical medical decisions of all time, because it was made with knowledge to sacrifice these children as a direct affront to the congressional mandate that they all be compensated.
Since 1986, the vaccine court has paid approximately $3 billion for vaccine injuries. Let's get this out to every newlywed, every individual that is considering or has a pregnancy on the way or has. I mean, shoot. They keep adding more to it. I mean, if these pharmaceuticals could have their way, they tried creating this movement, whatever you want to call it, where the schedule that even adults, we continually had to show up for the next booster, vaccine passports, everything. Totally infringing on our free agency, freedom of choice, entirely. It's crazy. Pinch me, the world we live in, the truth can be shocking, it can be tough. But with the testimonials of the parents, why put yourself in those shoes, to now be educated because they didn't know any better? Can we eliminate the need to go through that ourselves before we actually do our due diligence? Could you imagine? So my hat is off to these parents, to actually coming to the realizations, the full truth behind it all, versus, because that's a tough position. There's probably a lot of parents in denial due to their children and what was the cause, because it's a challenging truth to come to, that you scheduled it, you drove your child into it, you paid for it, or your insurance that you're paying to have that done. The cognitive dissonance, this disconnect for us. Once again, I feel the great humbling is a necessity to really get to the root of these issues. The lack of transparency, everything exposed in this amazing film or documentary, whatever you want to call it. Bring the data against this. If you have it, do it. Let's see it. But continually, this is even a bit dated compared to the new data. I mean, my gosh, we've plugged a new study regarding the COVID shot. 1.7 million children are now dealing with heart defects. And it is fact checked. It is due to the COVID shots. 100%. We'll see futuristically what else ails them due to this warfare. This is what it is. The CDC's fraudulent MMR study has been used to deny the claims of children with autism. Unbelievable. This is so unacceptable. I hope more people step forward. I just can't wait. We're going to stay tuned. We're going to go through Vaxxed 2, Vaxxed 3, and it becomes more current data and information I don't know if they even have the triplets in this one. I believe it might be in Vax 3, where with these triplets all going down, boom, 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 one after another, right after a shot, like right after. It's statistically impossible to blame it on genetics or any other thing. It 100% proves, just in that one situation, the connection to these bioweapon shots known as vaccines.
In the fall of last year, I got a call from an inside source who told me that in 2 weeks, there's going to be a whistleblower from the CDC who's going to come out and say that the CDC had committed fraud on the MMR study and that they knew that vaccines were actually causing autism. I mean, that's a huge story. Unfortunately, it was a story I would not be able to tell on a medical talk show because a lot of our funding was coming from the pharmaceutical industry. And we were also very good friends with the CDC who had appeared on our show many, many times. But I knew that once this story broke, 2 weeks later, that the mainstream news media would pick it up. Fox would be on it. CNN would be on it. MSNBC. And we're talking about the biggest medical story in the last decade or two, at least. So that 2 weeks came. COVID.
I saw the video that was posted by Andrew Wakefield and Brian Hooker, and I heard the words of William Thompson and his confession.
Oh my God, I cannot believe we did what we did. But we did. It's all there. It's all there.
And I watched the blogosphere go crazy. Tweets, Facebook, social media, everybody talking about it. But not one mainstream media source went anywhere near the story.
Not
In
one.
fact, on CNN, someone put the story up on iReport, and CNN took it down.
Wow.
And at that moment, I realized, wait a minute. Not only is my medical talk show being produced by the pharmaceutical industry, all of television is.
For those that haven't been throughout the whole duration of this live, we experienced a ban on Facebook promoting this very live. And we've had a lot of technical difficulties even playing this seamlessly. And we pulled up the original webpage from Vaxxed itself, the individuals that created this, and on their own webpage, these videos aren't available. Yeah, but let's just put it together. It's not all coincidence.
We were never going to get this story.
Wow.
But we certainly did get a story.
A story.
A highly contagious measles outbreak.
Major outbreak. Measles outbreak.
Measles on the march in America.
This outbreak is showing no signs of letting up.
But in 2014, the number
people are questioning the narrative. Let's ramp up a outbreak and fear porn and get people indoctrinated that we need a savior. We need a vaccine cure. The weaponization of words. How they've used words that mean something, but that's not what it's fulfilling. But we believe it. We take it hook, line, and sinker.
To 644 measles cases reported in 27 states.
It's really amazing to consider the number of cases of autism every year and to contrast that to, let's say, the number of children who acquired measles by going to Disneyland. It's a tiny number of children who acquired measles, and it's a vast number of children who are being diagnosed with autism every day.
There it is.
We don't know what causes autism. I mean, that's fair to say. We're not sure as a scientific community what causes autism.
No, we know.
But we know that vaccines do not.
Lies.
No, I'm not saying that Sanjay Gupta is a bad guy. In fact, I think that he tries to do a lot of good, just like many doctors do. But if they're being lied to by the scientific body that provides them with their information,
Boom.
What happens to all of us? What happens if a good doctor sees the same data that I saw?
So you're a scientist,
Great point.
basically. So you're studying this, and you feel 100% comfortable. You even said you have kids, so you're a family person.
Yes.
You would feel very
How long have you been a doctor, and sort of what's your area of specialty?
Sure, I've been a family medicine physician for over 10 years now, and treating families, everyone from newborns all the way up to my oldest patient is 96.
So do you administer vaccines as part of that?
Yes, I do administer vaccines. In our clinic, we follow the CDC recommendations, and we give that information to our patients, and we give them a schedule of when their children are going to need to be vaccinated and so on and so forth.
There's something I want to show you. This is the formal complaint.
Ooh, let's see if they have discernment.
William Thompson, the whistleblower at the CDC, okay? There's all sorts of reference materials in here and things like that. I'm just going to give you time to look at it, study it as long as you want, okay?
Beautiful way to
when
go
you feel
about
like you
it.
have a grasp of it, it's going to take some time. Appreciate you taking the time, all right? Okay.
So I have sent you what William Thompson has said is the fraud at the CDC. All of that data that was missing. Did you get a chance to really look it over?
It's just really unbelievable how blatantly the data was switched around. It made me question whether or not this organization that's been mandating how I practice medicine for the past 10 years, if they're lying about this or leaving data out about this particular study, what else am I being lied to about?
Yes.
I'm still trying to digest it because this study, which was used to kind of give the definitive answer to us pediatricians that, oh, the MMR is not related to autism.
Folks, we could supply our pediatricians, our doctors, this information. And if they're not willing to humble themselves and actually even check it out or read the documents like that man presented to these other doctors that were spoon-fed these narratives, that were fulfilling the narratives, but after reviewing you can't argue the evidence that they even present. So if they're willing to take the time, that would help shift the whole paradigm. We all have a role to play in this. Let's do what we can.
I kind of feel like I've been lied to. When they set out to do the study, they wanted to look at the data and interpret the data. But then there's a piece of data that they chose to ignore. The data they excluded was really, really significant.
Think about it, it's a big deal. It is a big deal for a physician to have to deal with the fact that for the past 10, 20 years, we've been potentially destroying the brains of children.
Everything I've been telling my patients for the last 10 years has been based on a lie and a cover-up.
Parents making decisions about their children's health deserve to have the best information available to them. They should be able to count on federal agencies to tell them the truth.
Yes.
Once Brian and I had outed Bill Thompson, he got himself a whistleblower lawyer. He provided all of his documents on the fraudulent CDC study to Congressman Posey, who then went before the Congress.
Considering the nature of the whistleblower's documents, as well as the involvement of the CDC, a hearing and a thorough investigation is warranted. So I ask, Mr. Speaker, I beg, I implore my colleagues on the appropriations committees to please take such action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
2015. Where was all this? This wasn't mainstreamed. This wasn't, we couldn't even get behind it. It's such a gift to live right here, right now, have this very platform. I pray that this information touches your heart in such a way that we fight back against the very censorship we experience right here on this live with the Facebook and stuff. Let's get this information out. Let's share it with the doctors. Let's share it with our family. Let's share it with our friends. If it's not with because we're all about outcomes and results and not necessarily just blowing up this platform. Let's please at least share. You know, I'm going to have to add the this Rumble stream account, which is fantastic. It's not even, it would be nice to credit the people that put this together entirely, but it seems their page is down on this particular one, but we'll add all the links. So if it isn't through Unmuzzled chat, because my commentary is too triggering, then please just send the authentic sources or whatever we're able to connect in the comments below or the description below. I got additional links to add after this live is complete. So just stay tuned. And let's just do what we can.
It's now been 7 months since Congressman Bill Posey urged the Congress to subpoena Bill Thompson, and they have done nothing.
Nothing.
Bill Thompson wants to be subpoenaed by Congress. As a CDC employee from the federal government, he cannot speak voluntarily because of the threat of jail time.
Absolutely. Wow. William Thompson needs to go before Congress. He needs to go before the whole nation. Everybody needs to see what he has to say.
He needs to be deposed in front of a committee in Congress. And
see, all doctors aren't bad. She was presented the information, and now she's cited with getting this information out. Incredible. If your doctor isn't willing to read through it, that's a doctor that shouldn't be stripped of their position. 100%. That's a problem. You're just willing to take narratives from obviously untrustworthy sources and just implement them and Now you're just projecting as though you're a health care provider. You just care about your bottom line, to be honest. That's what it is. They should not be in the field of medicine, period.
Julie Gerberding has to be brought in and deposed, because this is a very, very, very disturbing revelation. For this researcher to come forward and be saying now that they were indeed deliberately concealing critical information about an MMR autism link, horrible development.
Deviation from an analysis plan, omission of crucial data, destruction of documents, obstruction of justice, misleading the Congress, grievous harm to innocent children.
Right.
This has to be investigated.
Yes.
You and I are in agreement. Vaccine safety should not be in the CDC.
Absolutely. You would end up with an agency like the National Transportation Safety Board.
The next thing they need to do is somebody needs to reintroduce the Weldon-Maloney bill. It needs to be very, very quickly enacted, and you need to take all of the vaccine safety responsibilities out of the CDC.
These children have been maimed by the actions of Colleen Boyle, Frank DeStefano, Marshall Lynn, Jurgen Alsop, and Tanya Bassin. My son has been debilitated for 17 years. I think jail time is too good for these individuals who have perpetrated such fraud.
The notion of vaccinating children, protecting children against serious infectious disease with vaccines that are safe and effective is laudable. You hear about measles outbreaks in Disneyland, and then they try and sell you MMR. We didn't see autism being reported as a consequence of the single vaccine, only of the triple vaccine. So my feeling is that we need to review vaccination policy across the board.
Yes.
In the first instance, I do believe we can make the problem far less if we separate those vaccines out into their single measles.
At a minimum,
rubella.
I just cannot imagine what it will be like if we really do face a future in which half the children born end up on the autism spectrum. I mean, it will be so disruptive of the school system. There'll be so little money to be able to spend on the normal children to help them, to bring them up and to educate them. We're just going to have extremely sick children.
Collapse our
and
society.
Parents that will be so distracted by the challenge of bringing up these children that are so sick that our society will not be able to focus on anything else.
The implications of that for our country, for our competitiveness as a nation, for our economy are massive. They must know, and they do know, that there's a national emergency.
I mean, this is going to be a complete catastrophe if we just let it happen.
World War III tactics, right here before your eyes, completely laid out. Now, once again, this is a little dated. There is so much data that blows at our disposal, blows this up to really shine the light on these evil perpetrators. Far too successful. I can't. The pandemic is truly the smoking gun on it all. And when you start following the money, it like what angle? We've tried it all here on UNMUZZLED Chat. Is some of you may know if you've been and more so an OG from the beginning, but we could just touch on. I feel like Epstein and their sin, the same individuals profiting from all this. Surprisingly, the elites, there's a reason why they got to him in the most secured prison. Are you kidding me? He didn't kill himself. And there's been no proper investigations or arrests due to their client list. Why is that? Their sin could be their downfall. If we demanded the transparency or demanded the transparency on this, which angle of attack the evil is perpetrating on us right here, right now in our generation would be influential enough for you to get more engaged. This I find to be very powerful because it is a direct attack on us. And if we're honest with ourselves, how far out, whether it's a child you have, or someone you know, or a relative. Let's just say there's people in my life that I've seen those individuals, children, dealing with these gastro issues, dealing with ADD, dealing with which the additional Vaxxed. So stay tuned that we're going to be going through in future episodes expose, because it's not. This one just really hits the MMR and the autism connection kind of out of the park and opens people's eyes to kind of this corrupt organization and exposing all the spoon-fedness, right? And how we've just been programmed and indoctrinated and gaslit and manipulated into blindly entrusting. I mean, my goodness. They're going over the details and the specifics of all these connections, but like, who is a parent in the right mind to even address another layer of things that most people don't even consider? Where is the quality control regarding the actual batches? Couldn't it be possible that these, with their secrecy, with their immunities, with all the things that they've stood up, like, where's the transparency on the actual batches and quality control? We have quality control instigated to a degree with our food and stuff. Where is it regarding vaccinations? Where is the transparency on, let's even say, the chain of custody of those batches to the point it's getting put in someone's arm? Could it be that other criminal organizations along the chain of custody are getting involved in putting harmful things? Like, where is all that? Let's be real with ourselves. You would have to be some sort of insane with the current infrastructure and that blind trust in everything to put that in your freaking child's arm.
What will you say the next time a mother sitting there with her baby in her hands says, Dr. Rachel, is the MMR vaccine safe?
Ooh, good
I'm going
question.
to tell her. I'm going to say, honestly, I'm not going to give the MMR vaccine to my babies, and here's why.
Good. Every 7 minutes. Every 7 minutes. And this is the little data that's probably 6. How many have happened during this very episode? 2 hours and 20 minutes in. I could bust out the calculator and actually figure that out, but there's a direct connection between this. It's unacceptable. Think about it with, once again, the Amish communities. Autism is literally non-existent. Non-existent. Every 7 minutes, we can make it non-existent. How? You can connect the dots on that one. Right there. Please bless this platform. Help us help you. We want to instigate whatever is effective. I can't stop dreaming about if the proper funding came in to Unmuzzled Chat to start reaching out to tech teams to see how viable it would be to build out a web page that would assist in this, that would create the email lists and the mailing letters that you could print out. But in doing so, it's actually tabulating. We're creating, for once, an actual tabulation to individuals reaching out. I'm sure people on an individual level are already doing that, but we're not impacting their bottom line because our government takes from us no matter what. Think of the businesses that go woke: Bud Light, Tractor Supply, John Deere, so many. We impact their bottom line directly. So what happens? They respond to our outbursts immediately. It's different with the government. And they keep sweeping this crap under the rug. So we need to gather the tally. I'd imagine with the proper built out web pages that people could just go to and share. Like, oh, boom, here's something about the COVID shot. Here's about this issue. The border issue. Just, we could add all this in. Demanding the spray stop happening in our skies, that we get clean water. Why is the parts per million above the EPA's deemed humane level, like, in our drinking water? We know fluoride's still being pumped in there. We know all these other parts per million were above the deemable humane level of drinking. It's like 300 or 200 is more so the acceptable level. Why is it 800 parts per million right here in Arizona tap water? Why? You could buy a parts per million. We could pull it up on Amazon. You could buy one for like $10 and just test. Does it tell you specifically what's in it? No. It just tells you how many particles. And there's only so many healthy minerals. Okay? It's not minerals. It's chemicals. The actual things that like pharmaceutical birth controls, things of that nature are leaching back in, and it's not being filtered out. Could that be leading to all sorts of hormonal imbalances within men and women? 100%. Leading to also psychological difficulties and effects. Like, we got to clean all this up. So please help us create a hub that will collect the data, because at that point we can take that to a law firm. We can take that and to already class action lawsuits that are being instigated in different states, and create a precedence in one state, and it's just going to start carrying over more and more. We could create that momentum together. Consider donating to Unmuzzled Chat. If not here, reach out to them directly. Find out where we can. But we just want to provide more viable solutions to get all this out and create real tangible solutions for us all. So good. Wow. Come on. All of these individuals were invited to take part in this documentary. They're the ones running everything. Like, are you kidding me? And they all declined. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? What does that tell our gut? It takes no rocket scientist. It's all laid out right here, beautifully. Vaxxedthemovie.com. Well done. I applaud them. Wow. Very well done. I gotta let this play out, folks. Should reach out to these producers. That's another thing we could, with more financial blessing, kick off other documentaries just like this. Reach out to more individuals. We can create this momentum together. I'm so amped up. I'm so excited. This is what life's about. But that sound is, man, that's really blasting in my headset. Yeah, special thanks. I should screenshot every one of these names, reach out to them personally, and just further their life experience. If you know any of them, please reach out to them on our behalf. Muzzledchat@gmail.com. Welcome them and you all. This is how we're gonna create real, tangible solutions. It's together. That's what we gotta do. Wow. Autism Media Channel.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Amber Olson, the creator.
All right, we can skip the commercial. Folks, I hope that touched your heart. I hope that breathes some light and truth. Like, let's break the chains. This is what's going to set us free. 100%. Wow. I got a lot of homework. I got a lot of links to add in the description below. It is time for a great humbling. And on that note, I know I shared this one the other day, this little prayer book, but this is so in sync with today's episode. Let's just go through it again. It's under True Strength, this biblical reference under He is Strong. But he said to me, quote, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Talk about humbling. "Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight." Can we delight in weakness? I delight in weakness. "In insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties, for when I am weak, I am strong." That is 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. Delight in weakness. Delight in being wrong. Because every acknowledgement there, in the spoon-fedness, in the indoctrination, in the gaslighting, the manipulation, everything evil. Evil's been here since the dawn of man in time. Adam and Eve. He's built out so much of this infrastructure in the indoctrination. Our education, everything's got to be revamped to have a better chance at properly acknowledging this evil and tear down this evil infrastructure. 100%. So the prayer reads, "I am weak, but you are strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. I love him." While having a list of weakness a mile long, it is not always a comforting thought. I finally understand why I am human and you are God. I don't like to shine the light on my failings. We should. But I have learned to release them to you so you can use them to reveal your might. It's among these hardships, these challenging times, these profound truths that really lead us to his might. Thank you for giving me the freedom to have my identity in you. This allows me to showcase my weaknesses, give you credit for my moments of strength, and direct attention to your grace. It is not about me. It's not about me here. I mean that personally. And I believe the more we can acknowledge that, it could change our even way of speech, way of interacting, the energy between the communications. That, my friends, could lead us to more so the art, the skill, the virtue of communicating with one another. Too many times we like I even trip up at times because I'm trying to, seem intelligent. I'm trying to win someone over or win an argument there's no winning in an actual genuine argument. Like, we got to make it not about us. It's about the situation. It's about outcomes. It's about God's might. Okay, where was I? Give you credits for my moments of strength and direct attention to your grace. It is not about me. It's so good. It is about you working through me. And as I rid myself of ego, I can be filled with the power of your Spirit. God, I pray that prayer for me, our listeners, anyone that would be willing to accept that. That is true strength. That is beautiful. Do we go into the Jesus is calling? Why not? Let's have fun. Let's kick off. I don't know if this tunage ever stopped. Oh, it's not wanting to work. Oh, that's not the one. Oh, yeah. There it is. I can hear it. I hope you can hear it. But Jesus is calling. Let's answer. Let's not shy away from it. All glory to God. That is who led me to kick this off. Come what may. Whether we fall flat on our face, I mean, there's something to be had here. There's been growth on my end. I've heard, it might just be for that. It might just be for growth here, in humility here. It is difficult to go against this evil in this life, let everything go, what evil could do, exposing just indirect attacks here. I mean, my thoughts just go to Janet on, just the completion of her 10-part series, the whole, was it 28? Oh my gosh, my brain. But the sequel, I'm still researching and going to build out a final episode regarding Janet. Try to go in depth. I do find it relevant. I know people were wanting more inquiry, and it's a problem. She lived in another country. So for me to actually meet with people that knew her, and I do find whether or not she in fact took her life irrelevant with what she was exposing. Let's just say, if by her hand she was attacked to get to that place, so in a huge way, just like so many of our loved ones that are in that depressed state, that are struggling, that have taken their lives, I know God's got extreme grace for them due to the evil's effectiveness, war tactics that led them to that place. But in my heart of hearts, I know she didn't take her life. I know it. So, Jesus is calling. Let's answer. It's November 25th. States. It's another kind of pushing us to humility. Thank me frequently as your journey through today. This practice makes it possible to pray without ceasing, as the Apostle Paul taught. If you are serious about learning to pray continually, the best approach is to thank me in every situation. These thankful prayers provide a solid foundation on which you can build all your other prayers. Moreover, a grateful attitude makes it easier for you to communicate with me. When your mind is occupied with thanking me, you have no time for worry or complaining. Love it. If you practice thankfulness continuously, negative thought patterns will gradually grow weaker and weaker. Draw near to me with a grateful heart, and my presence will fill you with joy and peace. Yeah. The great humbling. I tell you what, it's our new movement. Let's do it. There's a few biblical references here. I challenge you to look at them. We got 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. And it's saying, use King James Version in parentheses right here. James 4:8, Romans 15:3. I've been humbled in this very episode to another degree. And I'm so grateful for that. I do feel that joy, that light that is talked about right here and in here. The more we can effectively align with his love, he has a way of bringing joy and peace in the most extreme hardships this life has to throw at us. I think that's why Jesus says it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. I more so feel lately that path isn't necessarily the more challenging path. It's the more blessed path. Like, who doesn't want peace amongst their challenges? It's just more so difficult to stay on. It's like wide is that other path and narrow. So it's really just, it's hard in this mortal state to continually stay on that path. My friends, I'm so grateful to you. Can we build momentum together? Can we blast this to the moon and back? Get this out to everyone. Whether it's, once again, Unmuzzled chat or the links provided. Soon to be provided. Because we had difficulty, so there's new links to be added. If you don't feel impressed to donate directly into the Venmo or Cash App or GoFundMe or the Buy Me a Coffee link, could we break the cycle on that Buy Me a Coffee link? Like, I know they take a small percentage, but we've had one go through there. Could we get, I don't know what the limitation, maybe it's $5 or something. Could we have someone just make sure that's still active? Maybe it goes deactivated at the point it doesn't get used. I don't know. Let's find out together. But if not that, please check out our affiliations. We got crazy times ahead. American Reserves, 10% off with the Unmuzzled. Just follow the prompts below. EMP Shield, the single greatest investment I feel we can make in preparations for dark days ahead. 100%. Do not lose the means of transportation or all the investment into your home as far as electronics are concerned, and that includes refrigerators, freezers, things of that nature. Heck, maybe you could even tap in your generator and other things to the home device to protect them from EMP pulses and solar flares, the whole nine. Potential other energy weapons it seem to be. I don't mean to be all crazy out there, but man, there seems to be, I mean, what happened in Hawaii? This weather manipulation, not just the chemtrails that we could see and the potential impacts that could have. I mean, I don't know. But there's too many coincidences happening. North Carolina and these other just convenient things to elites and that rich ground that they've been trying to acquire for some time. It's just not coincidental. There's too much data on that to figure out. But anyway, I'm getting beside the whole point of this particular message. Let's just stay on track, James, as to what was uncovered. It's so healthy to humble yourselves and weed out that spoon-fedness, and this just brought it, like, really exposed. So stay tuned. We'll see if we can do it tomorrow. We'll dive into Vaxxed 2 together. I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, may our loving Creator bless you this day. Bless our country, all countries, all his children. 100%. May we find unity and excitement, kind of come at each other with more love and less bite in our interactions, and see that person for who they are. They're the only them, like, that ever is and ever will be. Why have nasty encounter when we might could just plant a seed of grace, love? That's what's important, and that's what I failed pretty epically at in my own path. So this is pretty raw. But until next time, folks, take care.